Well, is anybody in here yet? We're having to do it a different way. We don't have StreamYard. We're having trouble with StreamYard. We're having trouble with our booster. A little bit of trouble with everything. So this is the first time I've tried live like this. I don't even know how to change the orientation of this screen, and the more I tried, the worse it got. So
Does that one just give you a flip on the back of the camera? Is that what that does?
yeah, I tried that, and I ended up getting a green screen. I don't know if anybody's in there yet, and can't text anyone because that's our phone right there. So this is just going to be a short little practice one, I guess. What do you think?
I think so, because
Our apologies. We don't know what's going on. We've been having trouble with our internet since we got back from Mississippi.
sure have.
It's been nonstop. We've had to cancel tracker meetings and everything else, and we sure do miss y'all. And we appreciate your patience. We don't know if anybody's found this stream yet or not. Don't see anybody in there. So if I don't even know how to text Lorna.
You text with mine, a messenger.
So our apologies while we work this out. We've tried the computers, both computers. We're definitely, like Tracker Kelly said, the spiritual warfare is high. Seriously, it has been all week. Let's see.
It says we're live. It looks like we're on. See if it's got a 20-second delay. Yeah, about 20-second delay.
But we don't know if you can hear us.
One person's in the room.
One person's in the room. All right, can you hear us? Two people in the room. That must be Sage and Lorna, Tracker Lorna. Can y'all hear us okay? We're having to switch to the phone and to do YouTube live stream because our StreamYard is not working. Our Wi-Fi keeps going out. So with the phone, at least we can also go to cellular if the Wi-Fi goes out again. We've had trouble all week. We've had to cancel tracker meetings. And so here we go. We're going to go ahead and say a prayer again. That just went out again. Thank you, Lord. We need your help. We need your help so that we don't have to cancel this and we can get back on track with our Bible study. Just, Lord, we need your help, and we thank you that you're here and that you'll give us the right words, and just that if you intend for us to have a stream tonight, you'll make a way for us to have a stream. And we do this to be pleasing to you, Lord, and to learn more about you. And we thank you for everything. We thank you for letting us be here, and we thank you for taking care of us, and we thank you for our tracking team and those who view, our friends, our family. Just, Lord, we thank you for the cell phone and the different means that we have to try to get this study out. We love you, Father, and it's good to be home. In Jesus' name, in the name of your Son, Yeshua, amen.
Amen.
Is that one's out again?
Yeah.
So we can't even see your messages. There's 5 in there now. We apologize that just crazy electronic stuff is going on. We're just going to get started. Our verse tonight, we had said earlier, it was basically, who are we that you're mindful of us, and that you would create the sun and the moon and the stars for us.
And hopefully y'all can hear us good enough. We're using the phone at a little distance.
There, Tracker Lorna said amen. Lorna, how well can you hear us? Can you hear us okay on this phone?
And we do know that there's a 20-second delay on a lot of feeds. So we'll wait to 20 seconds and see
Our
what
verses
we got.
were Psalms chapter 8, verses 3 through 5. Oh, good. Every time we tried to use the Scarlet tonight, which is what gives us the good microphone, it has bumped us back out. Our verses are, when I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them, human beings that you care for them? You have made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory and honor. Hey, Wedges here. Thank you guys for your patience.
Right.
This was not the rocky start that we intended. Can you scoot in a little further? This was not the rocky start that we intended, and we're really glad you're here, and we're glad for your patience. We're going to go, well, the last time that we talked, the last Bible study that we had, and we're in the Book of Enoch within the Ethiopian Bible. And this is Jerry Williams. I'm Ella Williams. And we had talked last time about the levels of heaven. The first level is where the weather comes from and where the birds fly, and we all know that level. The second level is, half of it is paradise, and half of it is the holding place for the ones that are not God's children, that have not lived righteously. And the ones that have not lived righteously can see over into paradise, and it just adds to their torment. It's kind of like it's all a waiting room until the judgment day, when we go to our final eternal homes. The third level, the second level is the prison, the darkness, the thick, heavy darkness, my mistake, where the angels are. That's what Michael had to fight through to get here to help, where the archangels have to fight through, and our prayers have to get through there. And the third heaven is the paradise in the garden with the people. And so now we're on the fourth heaven, and that's where the sun and the moon, and it's the realm of celestial beings. And we have to understand that the moon and the sun and the stars, they're all alive, they're all living. Hey, Tracker Lorna. Good to see you, and it's good to be back, and we thank you for your patience so much. I'm going to log out of this other computer just so we don't draw any more power. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with chapter 72 in the Book of Enoch.
And we read this the last time, but we're going to read it about the fourth heaven on, so that you have that recap also, so you know where we're at and what's being said. So there.
There's a new name in there, Septriweni. Good to see you.
All right.
Septriweni.
67.
67. Thank you for finding us. We got off to a little rocky start today, but we're good. We're going to start with chapter 72, the Book of Enoch.
Our house is built on a rock anyway, so.
After the law, I beheld another law of an inferior luminary, the name of which is the moon, and the orb of which is as the orb of heaven. Its chariot, which it secretly ascends, the wind blows, and light is given to it by measure. You need something?
I need a piece of paper. Yeah.
Every month at its exit and entrance it becomes changed, and its periods are as the periods of the sun. And when in like manner its light is to exist, its light is a seventh portion from the light of the sun. Thus it rises, and at its commencement towards the east goes forth for 30 days. At that time it appears and becomes to you the beginning of the month. 30 days it is with the sun in the gate from which the sun goes forth. Half of it is in extent 7 portions, 1/2, and the whole of its orb is void of light, except a 7th portion out of the 14 portions of its light. And in a day it receives a 7th portion, or half that portion of its light. Its light is by sevens, by 1 portion, and by the half of a portion. It sets with the sun. And when the sun rises, the moon rises with it, receiving half a portion of light. On that night, when it commences its period, previously to the day of the month, the moon sets with the sun. And on that night it is dark in its 14 portions, that is, in each half. But it rises on that day with 1/7 portion precisely, and in its progress declines from the rising of the sun. During the remainder of its period, its light increases to 14 portions. Chapter 73. Then I saw another progress and regulation which he effected in the law of the moon. The progress of the moons and everything relating to them, Uriel showed me, the holy angel who conducted them all. Their stations I wrote down as he showed them to me. I wrote down their months as they occur and the appearance of their light until it is completed in 15 days. In each of its 2/7 portions, it completes all its light at rising and at setting. On stated months, it changes its settings, and on stated months, it makes its progress through each gate. In 2 gates, the moon sets with the sun. In those 2 gates, which are in the midst, in the 3rd and 4th gate, from the 3rd gate, it goes forth for 7 days and makes its circuit. Again, it returns to the gate whence the sun goes forth, and in that completes the whole of its light. Then it declines from the sun, and enters in 8 days into the 6th gate, and returns in 7 days to the 3rd gate, from which the sun goes forth. When the sun proceeds to the 4th gate, the moon goes forth for 7 days, until it passes from the 5th gate. Again it returns in 7 days to the 4th gate, and completing all its light declines, and passes on by the 1st gate in 8 days, and returns in 7 days to the 4th gate, from which the sun goes forth. Thus I beheld their stations, as according to the fixed order of the months the sun rises and sets. At those times there is an excess of 30 days belonging to the sun in 5 years, all the days belonging to each year of the 5 years, when completed, amount to 364 days, and to the sun and stars belong 6 days, 6 days in each of the 5 years, thus 30 days belong to them. So that the moon has 30 days less than the sun and stars. The moon brings on all the years exactly, that their stations may come neither too forwards nor too backwards a single day, but that the years may be changed with the correct precision in 364 days. In 3 years the days are 1,092. In 5 years they are 1,820, and in 8 years 2,912 days. To the moon alone belong in 3 years 1,062 days. In 5 years it has 50 days less than the sun, for an addition being made to the 1,062 days. In 5 years there are 1,770 days, and the days of the moon in 8 years are 2,832 days. For its days in 8 years are less than those of the sun by 80 days, which 80 days are in its diminution in 8 years as it diminishes. The year then becomes truly complete, according to the station of the moons and the station of the sun, which rise in the different gates, which rise and set in them for 30 days. Chapter 74. These are the leaders of the chiefs of the thousands, those of which preside over all creation and over all the stars, and the 4 days which are added and never separated from the place allotted them, according to the complete computation of the year. And these serve 4 days, which are not computed in the computation of the year. Respecting them, men greatly err, for these luminaries truly serve in the mansion of the world 1 day in the 1st gate, 1 day in the 3rd gate, 1 day in the 4th, and 1 in the 6th gate. And the harmony of the world becomes complete every 364th state of it, for the signs, the seasons, the years, and the days. Uriel showed me the angel whom the Lord of glory appointed over all the luminaries. Of heaven in heaven, and in the world, that they might rule in the face of the sky, and appearing over the earth, become conductors of the days and nights, the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the ministers of heaven, which make their circuit with all the chariots of heaven. Thus Uriel showed me 12 gates open for the circuit of the chariots of the sun in heaven, from which the rays of the sun shoot forth. From these proceed heat over the earth, when they are opened in their stated seasons. They are for the winds, and the spirit of the dew, when in their seasons they are opened. Opened in heaven at its extremities. 12 gates I beheld in heaven, as the extremities of the earth, through which the sun, moon, and stars, and all the works of heaven proceed at their rising and setting. Many windows are also open on the right and on the left. One window at a certain season grows extremely hot. So also there are gates from which the stars go forth, as they are commanded, and in which they are set according to their number. I saw likewise the chariot running in the world above to those gates in which the stars turn, which never set. One of these is greater than all, which goes around the whole world. And at the extremities of the earth I beheld 12 gates open for all the winds, from which they proceed and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open in the front of heaven, 3 in the west, 3 on the right side of heaven, and 3 on the left. The first 3 are those which are towards the east, 3 are towards the north, 3 behind those which are upon the left, towards the south, and 3 on the west. From 4 of them proceed winds of blessing and of health, and from 8 proceed winds of punishment, when they are sent to destroy the earth and the heaven above it, all its inhabitants, and all which are in the waters or on dry land. The first of these winds proceeds from the gate termed the eastern, through the first gate on the east, which inclines southwards. From this goes forth destruction, drought, heat, and perdition. From the second gate, the middle one, proceeds equity. There issue from it rain, fruitfulness, health, and dew, and from the third gate northwards proceed cold and drought. After these proceed the south winds through the 3 principal gates. Through the first gate, which inclines eastwards, proceeds a hot wind, but from the middle gate proceed grateful odor, dew, rain, health, and life. From the third gate, which is westwards, proceeds dew, rain, blight, and destruction. And these are the winds to the north, which is called the sea. They proceed from 3 gates. The first gate is that which is on the east, inclining southwards. From this proceed dew, rain, blight, and destruction. From the middle direct gate proceed rain, dew, life, and health. And from the third gate, which is westwards, inclining towards the south, proceed mist, frost, snow, rain, dew, and blight. After these, in the 4th quarter, there are winds to the west. From the first gate, inclining northwards, proceed dew, rain, frost, cold, snow, and chill. From the middle gate proceed rain, health, and blessing. And from the last gate, which is southward, proceed drought, destruction, scorching, and perdition. The account of the 12 gates of the 4 quarters of heaven is ended. All their laws, all their infliction of punishment, and the health produced by them, have I explained to thee, my son Methuselah. Chapter 76. The first wind is called the eastern, because it is the first. The second is called the south, because the Most High there descends, and frequently there descends he who is blessed forever. The western wind has the name of I have trouble with this word, saying this word. Diminution, because there are all the luminaries of heaven, because there all the luminaries of heaven are diminished and descend. The 4th wind, which is named the north, is divided into 3 parts, one of which is for the habitation of man, another the seas of water, with valleys, woods, rivers, shady places, and snow, and the 3rd part contains paradise. 7 high mountains I beheld, higher than all the mountains of the earth from which frost proceeds, while days, seasons, and years depart and pass away. 7 rivers I beheld upon earth, greater than all rivers, one of which takes its course from the west. Into the sea its water flows. 2 come from the north to the sea, their waters flowing into the Erythraean Sea on the east, and with respect to the remaining 4, they take their course in the cavity of the north. 2 to their sea, the Erythraean Sea, and 2 are poured into a great sea, where also it is said there is a desert. 7 great islands I saw in the sea and on the earth. 7 is the great sea. The names of the sun are these. Chapter 77. The names of the sun are these. One is Arieris, the other Tomas. The moon has 4 names. The first is Asonia, the second Ebla, the third Benes, and the fourth Ere. These are the 2 great luminaries, whose orbs are as the orbs of heaven, and the dimensions of both are equal. In the orb of the sun there is a 7th portion of light, which is added to it from the moon. By measure it is put in until a 7th portion of the light of the sun is departed. They set, enter into the western gate, circuit by the north, and through the eastern gate go forth over the face of heaven. When the moon rises, it appears in heaven, and the half of a 7th portion of light is all which is in it. In 14 days, the whole of its light is completed. By 3 quintuples light is put into it, until in 15 days its light is completed. According to the signs of the year, it has 3 quintuples. The moon has the half of a 7th portion. During its diminution, I don't know why I have trouble pronouncing that word. Diminution. I keep wanting to put a U where the I is. Diminishing. On the first day, its light decreases a 14th part. On the second day, it decreases a 13th part. On the third day, a 12th part. And on the 4th day, an 11th part. On the 5th day, a 10th part. On the 6th day, a 9th part. On the 7th day, it decreases an 8th part. On the 8th day, it decreases a 7th part. On the 9th day, it decreases a 6th part. On the 10th day, it decreases a 5th part. On the 11th day, it decreases a 4th part. On the 12th day, it decreases a 3rd part. On the 13th day, it decreases a 2nd part. On the 14th day, it decreases a half of its 7th part. And on the 15th day, the whole remainder of its light is consumed. On stated months, the moon has 29 days. It also has a period of 28 days. Uriel likewise showed me another regulation. When light is poured into the moon, how it is poured into it from the sun. All the time that the moon is in progress with its light, it is poured into it in the presence of the sun, until its light is in 14 days completed in heaven. And when it is wholly extinguished, its light is consumed in heaven, and on the first day it is called the new moon, for on that day light is received into it. It becomes precisely completed on the day that the sun descends into the west, while the moon ascends at night from the east. The moon then shines until the night, until the sun rises before it, when the moon disappears in turn before the sun. Where light comes to the moon, there again it decreases, until all its light is extinguished, and the days of the moon pass away. Then its orb remains solitary without light. During 3 months it affects in 30 days each month its period, and during 3 more months it affects it in 29 days each. These are the times in which it affects its decrease in its first period, and in the first gate, namely, in 177 days. And at the time of its going forth, during 3 months, it appears 30 days each, and during 3 more months, it appears 29 days each. In the night, it appears for each 20 days as the face of a man, and in the day as heaven, for it is nothing else except its light. Chapter 78. I'm going to take a drink. Excuse me. And now, chapter 78, and now, my son Methuselah, I have shown thee everything, and the account of every ordinance of the stars of heaven is finished. He showed me every ordinance respecting these, which takes place at all times, and in all seasons, under every influence, in all years, at the arrival, and under the rule of each, during every month and every week. He showed me also the decrease of the moon, which is effected in the sixth gate, for in that sixth gate is its light consumed. From this is the beginning of the month, and its decrease is effected in the sixth gate in its period, until 177 days are completed, according to the mode of computation by weeks, 25 weeks and 2 days. Its period is less than that of the sun, according to the ordinance of the stars, by 5 days in 1/2 year precisely, when that their visible situation is completed. Such is the appearance and such is the appearance and likeness of every luminary, which Thiel, the great angel who conducts them, showed to me. In those days Uriel answered and said to me, Behold, I have showed thee all things, O Enoch, and all things have I revealed to thee. Thou seest the sun, the moon, and those which conduct the stars of heaven, which cause all their operations, seasons, and arrivals to return. In the days of sinners the years shall be shortened. Their seeds shall be backward in their prolific soil, and everything done on earth shall be subverted and disappear in its season. The rain shall be restrained, and the heavens shall stand still. In those days the fruits of the earth shall be late, and not flourish in their season, and in their season the fruit of the trees shall be withholden. The moon shall change its laws, and not be seen at its proper period. But in those days shall heaven be seen, and barrenness shall take place in the borders of the great chariots of the west. In the west, heaven shall shine more when illuminated by the orders of light, while many chiefs among the stars of authority shall err, perverting their ways and works. Those shall not appear in their season who command them, and all the classes of the stars shall be shut up against sinners. The thoughts of those who dwell on earth shall transgress within them, and they shall be perverted in all their ways. They shall transgress and think themselves gods, while evil shall be multiplied among them, and punishment shall come upon them, so that all of them shall be destroyed. He said, O Enoch, look on the book which heaven has gradually dropped down. This is chapter 80. He said, O Enoch, look on the book which heaven has gradually dropped down, and reading that which is written in it, understand every part of it. Then I looked on all which was written, and understood all, reading the book and everything written in it, all the works of man, and of all the children of flesh upon the earth during the generations of the world. Immediately after I blessed the Lord, the King of glory, who has thus forever formed the whole workmanship of the world. And I glorified the Lord on account of his long suffering and blessing towards the children of the world. At that time I said, Blessed is the man who shall die righteous and good, against whom no catalogue of crime has been written, and with whom iniquity is not found. Then those 3 holy ones caused me to approach, and placed me on the earth before the door of my house. And they said to me, Explain everything to Methuselah thy son, and inform all thy children that no flesh shall be justified before the Lord, for he is their creator. During 1 year we will leave thee with thy children, until thou shalt again recover thy strength, that thou mayest instruct thy family, write these things, and explain them to all thy children. But in another year they shall take thee from the midst of them, and thy heart shall be strengthened, for the elect shall point out righteousness to the elect. The righteous with the righteous shall rejoice, congratulating each other, but sinners with sinners shall die. And the perverted with the perverted shall be drowned. Those likewise who act right shall die on account of the works of man, and shall be gathered together on account of the works of the wicked. In those days they finished conversing with me, and I returned to my fellow men, blessing the Lord of worlds. Chapter 81. Now, my son Methuselah, all these things I speak unto thee and write for thee. To thee I have revealed all, and have given books of everything. Preserve, my son Methuselah, the books written by thy father, that thou mayest transmit them to future generations. I'm going to read that one again. Preserve, my son Methuselah, the books written by thy father, that thou mayest transmit them to future generations. Wisdom have I given to thee, to thy children, and thy posterity, that they may transmit to their children for generations forever this wisdom in their thoughts, and that those who comprehend it may not slumber, but hear with their ears, that they may learn this wisdom, and be deemed worthy of eating this wholesome food or daily bread. Blessed are all the righteous, in whom no crime is found, as in sinners, when all their days are numbered. With respect to the progress of the sun in heaven, it enters and goes out of each gate for 30 days, with the leaders of the 1,000 classes of the stars, with 4 which are added and appertain to the 4 quarters of the year, which conduct them and accompany them at 4 periods. Respecting these men greatly err, and do not compute them in the computation of every age, for they greatly err respecting them, nor do men know accurately that they are in the computation of the year. But indeed, these are marked down forever, one in the first gate, one in the third, one in the fourth, and one in the sixth, so that the year is completed in 364 days. Truly has been stated, and accurately has been computed, that which is marked down for the luminaries, the months, the fixed periods, the years, and the days. Uriel has explained to me and communicated to me, whom the Lord of all creation on my account commanded, according to the might of heaven and the power which it possesses, both by night and by day, to explain the laws of light to man, of the sun, moon, and stars, and of all the powers of heaven which are turned with their respective orbs. This is the ordinance of the stars, which set in their places, in their seasons, in their periods, in their days, and in their months. These are the names of those who conduct them, who watch and enter in their seasons, according to their ordinance in their periods, in their months, in the times of their influence, and in their stations. 4 conductors of them first enter, who separate the 4 quarters of the year. After these, 12 conductors of their classes, who separate the months and the year into 364 days, with the leaders of 1,000 who distinguish between the days as well as between the 4 additional ones, which, as conductors, divide the 4 quarters of the year. These leaders of 1,000 are in the midst of the conductors, and the conductors are added each behind his station, and their conductors make the separation. These are the names of the conductors who separate the 4 quarters of the year, who are appointed over them: Melkel, Helamelech, Melial, and Nerel. And the names of those who conduct them are Adnarel, Jaisusal, and Jaalumiel. These are the 3 who follow after the conductors of the classes of the stars, each following after the 3 conductors of the classes, which themselves follow after those conductors of the stations who divide the 4 quarters of the year. In the first part of the year rises and rules Melchias, who is named Tamani and Zaheh. All of the days of his influence, during which he rules, are 91 days, and these are the signs of the days which are seen upon earth. In the days of his influence there is perspiration, heat, and trouble. All the trees become fruitful, the leaf of every tree comes forth, the corn is reaped, the rose and every species of flowers blossoms in the field, and the trees of winter are dried up. These are the names of the conductors who are under them: Barkel, Zelzabel, and another additional conductor of 1,000 is named Heloaleph, the days of whose influence have been completed. The other conductor next after them is Helamelech, whose name they call the splendid Zaheh. All the days of his light are 91 days. These are the signs of the days upon earth, heat and drought, while the trees bring forth their fruits, warmed and concocted, and give their fruits to dry. The flocks follow and yean. All the fruits of the earth are collected, with everything in the fields, and the vines are trodden. This takes place during the time of his influence. These are their names and orders, and the names of the conductors who are under them, of those who are chiefs of 1,000, Gedaliel, Kiel, and Hiel. And the names of the additional leader of 1,000 is Asphiel. The days of his influence have been completed. Chapter 82. And now I have shown thee, my son Methuselah, every sight which I saw prior to thy birth. I will relate another vision which I saw before I was married. They resemble each other. The first was when I was learning a book, and the other before I was married to thy mother. I saw a potent vision, and on account of these things besought the Lord. I was lying down in the house of my grandfather Malalel, when I saw in a vision heaven purifying and snatched away, and falling to the earth. I saw likewise the earth absorbed by a great abyss, and mountains suspended over mountains. Hills were sinking upon hills. Lofty trees were gliding off from their trunks, and were in the act of being projected and of sinking into the abyss. Being alarmed at these things, my voice faltered. I cried out and said, the earth is destroyed. Then my grandfather, Malalel, raised me up and said to me, why dost thou cry out, son? And wherefore dost thou thus lament? I related to him the whole vision which I had seen. He said to me, confirmed is that which thou hast seen, my son, and potent the vision of thy dream respecting every secret sin of the earth. Its substance shall sink into the abyss, and a great destruction shall take place. Now, my son, rise up, and beseech the Lord of glory, for thou art faithful, that a remnant may be left upon the earth, and that he would not wholly destroy it. My son, all this calamity upon earth comes down from heaven. Upon earth shall there be a great destruction. Then I arose, prayed, and entreated, and wrote down my prayer for the generations of the world, explaining everything to my son Methuselah. When I went out below, and looking up to heaven, beheld the sun proceeding from the east, the moon descending from the west, a few scattered stars, and everything which God had known from the beginning, I blessed the Lord of judgment, and magnified him, because he hath sent forth the sun from the chambers of the east, that ascending and rising in the face of heaven, it might spring up and pursue the path which has been pointed out to it. Chapter 83. I lifted up my hands in righteousness and blessed the Holy and the Great One. I spoke with every breath of my mouth and with a tongue of flesh which God has formed for all of the sons of mortal men, that with it they may speak, giving them breath, a mouth, and a tongue to converse with. Blessed art thou, O Lord the King, great and powerful in thy greatness, Lord of all the creatures of heaven, King of kings, God of the whole world, whose reign, whose kingdom, and whose majesty endure forever and ever. From generation to generation shall thy dominion exist. All the heavens are thy throne forever, and all the earth thy footstool forever and ever. For thou hast made them, and over all thou reignest. No act whatsoever exceeds thy power. With thee wisdom is unchangeable, nor from thy throne and from thy presence is it ever averted. Thou knowest all things, seest and hearest them, nor is anything concealed from thee, for thou perceivest all things. The angels of thy heavens have transgressed, and on mortal flesh shall thy wrath remain until the day of the great judgment. Now then, O God, Lord and mighty, I entreat thee and beseech thee to grant my prayer, that a posterity may be left to me on earth, and that the whole human race may not perish, that the earth may not be left destitute and destruction take place forever. O my Lord, let the race perish from the earth which has offended thee, but a righteous and upright race established for a posterity forever. Hide not thy face, O Lord, from the prayer of thy servant. Chapter 84. After this I saw another dream, and explained all to thee, my son. Enoch arose and said to his son Methuselah, to thee, my son, will I speak. Hear my word, and incline thine ear to the visionary dream of thy father. Before I married thy mother Edna, I saw a vision on my bed, and behold, a cow sprung forth from the earth, and this cow was white. Afterwards a female heifer sprung forth, and with it another heifer. One of them was black, and one was red. The black heifer then struck the red one, and pursued it over the earth. From that period I could see nothing more of the red heifer, but the black one increased in bulk, and the female heifer came with him. After this I saw that many cows proceeded forth, resembling him and following after him. The first female young one also went out in the presence of the first cow, and sought the red heifer, but found him not. And she lamented with a great lamentation while she was seeking him. Then I looked until that first cow came to her, from which time she became silent and ceased to lament. Afterwards she calved another white cow, and again calved many cows and black heifers. In my sleep also I perceived a white bull, which in like manner grew and became a large white bull. After him many white cows came forth resembling him, and they began to calve many other white cows which resembled them, and followed each other. Again I looked at chapter 85. Again I looked attentively, one while sleeping, and surveyed heaven above. And behold, a single star fell from heaven, which being raised up, ate and fed among those cows. After that I perceived another large and black cow, and changed their stalls and pastures, while their young began to lament one with another. Again I looked in my vision and surveyed heaven, when behold I saw many stars which descended, and projected themselves from heaven to where the first star was, into the midst of those young ones, while the cows were with them, feeding in the midst of them. I looked at and observed them, when behold they all acted after a manner of horses, and began to approach the young cows, all of whom became pregnant, and brought forth elephants, camels, and asses. At these all the cows were biting with their teeth, swallowing and striking with their horns. They began also to devour the cows. All the children of the earth trembled, shook with terror at them, and suddenly fled away. Chapter 86. Again I perceived them when they began to strike and to swallow each other, and the earth cried out. Then I raised my eyes a second time towards heaven, and saw in a vision that, behold, there came forth from heaven, as it were, the likeness of white men. One came forth from thence, and three with him. Those three who came forth last seized me by my hand, and raising me up from the generations of the earth, elevated me to a high station. Then they showed me a lofty tower on the earth, while every hill became diminished. And they said, Remain here until thou perceivest what shall come upon those elephants, camels, and asses, upon the stars, and upon all the cows. Then I looked at that one of the four white men who came forth first. He seized the first star which fell down from heaven, and binding it hand and foot, he cast it into a valley narrow, deep, stupendous, and gloomy. Then one of them drew his sword and gave it to the elephants, camels, and asses, who began to strike each other, and the whole earth shook on account of them. And when I looked in the vision, behold, one of these four angels who came forth hurled from heaven, collected together, and took all the great stars, whose form partly resembled that of horses, and binding them all hand and foot, cast them into the cavities of the earth. Then one of the four went to the white cows and taught them a mystery. While the cow was trembling, it was born and became a man, and fabricated for himself a large ship. In this he dwelt, and 3 cows dwell with him in that ship which covered them. Again I lifted up my eyes towards heaven, and saw a lofty roof. Above it were 7 cataracts, which poured forth on a certain village much water. Again I looked, and behold, there were fountains open on the earth in that large village. The water began to boil up and rose over the earth, so that the village was not seen, while its whole soil was covered with water. Much water was over it, darkness and clouds. Then I surveyed the height of this water, and it was elevated above the village. It flowed over the village and stood higher than the earth. Then all the cows which were collected there while I looked on them were drowned, swallowed up, and destroyed in the water. But the ship floated above it. All the cows, the elephants, the camels, and the asses were drowned in the earth, and all cattle. Nor could I perceive them. Neither were they able to get out, but perished and sunk into the deep. Again I looked in the vision until those cataracts from that lofty roof were removed, and the fountains of the earth became equalized, while other depths were opened, into which the water began to descend until the dry ground appeared. The ship remained on the earth. The darkness receded, and it became light. Then the white cow which became a man went out of the ship, and the 3 cows with him. One of the 3 cows was white, resembling that cow. One of them was red as blood, and one of them was black. And the white cow left them. Then began wild beasts and birds to bring forth. Of all these the different kinds assembled together: lions, tigers, wolves, dogs, wild boars, foxes, rabbits, and the Hamzar. Then the Siset, the Abest, kites, the Fonkas, and ravens. Then a white cow was born in the midst of them, and they began to bite each other. When the white cow which was born in the midst of them brought forth a wild ass, and after that many wild asses. Then the white cow which was born brought forth a black wild sow. The wild sow also brought forth many swine, and that sheep brought forth 12 sheep. When those 12 sheep grew up, they delivered one of them to the asses. Again those asses delivered that sheep to the wolves, and he grew up in the midst of them. Then the Lord brought the 11 other sheep, that they might dwell and feed with him in the midst of the wolves. They multiplied, and there was an abundance of pasture for them. But the wolves began to frighten and oppress them while they destroyed their young ones, and they left their young in torments of deep water. Now the sheep began to cry out on account of their young, and fled for refuge to their Lord. One, however, was saved, escaped, and went away to the wild asses. I beheld the sheep moaning, crying, and petitioning their Lord with all their might, until the Lord of the sheep descended at their voice from his lofty habitation, went to them, and inspected them. He called to that sheep which had secretly stolen away from the wolves, and told him to make the wolves understand that they were not to touch the sheep. Then that sheep went to the wolves with the word of the Lord, when another met him and proceeded with him. Both of them together entered the dwelling of the wolves, and conversing with them, made them understand that from thenceforth they were not to touch the sheep. Afterwards I perceived the wolves greatly prevailing over the sheep with their whole force. The sheep cried out, and their Lord came with them, and their Lord came to them. He began to strike the wolves, who commenced grievous lamentations. But the sheep were silent, nor from that time did they cry out. I then looked at them until they departed from the wolves. The eyes of the wolves were blind, who went out and followed them with all their might. But the Lord of the sheep proceeded with them and conducted them. All his sheep followed him. His countenance was terrific and splendid, and glorious was his aspect. Yet the wolves began to follow the sheep, until they overtook them in a certain lake of water. Then that lake became divided, the water standing up on both sides before their face. And while their Lord was conducting them, he placed himself between them and the wolves. The wolves, however, perceived not the sheep, but went into the midst of the lake, following them and running after them into the lake of water. But when they saw that the Lord of the sheep, they turned to fly from before his face. Then the water of the lake returned, and that suddenly, according to its nature, it became full, and was raised up until it covered the wolves. And I saw that all of them which had followed the sheep perished and were drowned. But the sheep passed over this water, proceeding to a wilderness, which was without both water and grass. And they began to open their eyes and to see. Then I beheld the Lord of the sheep inspecting them, and giving them water and grass. The sheep already mentioned was proceeding with them and conducting them. And when he had ascended to the top of a lofty rock, the Lord of the sheep sent him to them. Afterwards I perceived their Lord standing before them with an aspect terrific and severe. And when they all beheld him, they were frightened at his countenance. All of them were alarmed and trembled. They cried out after that sheep and to the other sheep who had been with him, and who was in the midst of them, saying, We are not able to stand before our Lord or to look upon him. Then that sheep who conducted them went away and ascended to the top of the rock. When the rest of the sheep began to grow blind and to wander from the path which he had shown them, but he knew it not. Their Lord, however, was moved with great indignation against them, and when that sheep had learned what had happened, he descended from the top of the rock, and coming to them, found that there were many, which had become blind, and had wandered from his path. As soon as they beheld him, they feared and trembled at his presence, and became desirous of returning to their fold. Then that sheep, taking with him other sheep, went to those which had wandered, and afterwards began to kill them. They were terrified at his countenance. Then he caused those which had wandered to return, who went back to their fold. I likewise saw there in the vision that this sheep became a man, built a house for the Lord of the sheep, and made them all stand in that house. I perceived also that the sheep which proceeded to meet this sheep, their conductor, died. I saw too that all the great sheep perished, while smaller ones rose up in their place, entered into a pasture, and approached a river of water. Then that sheep, their conductor, who became a man, was separated from them, and died. All the sheep sought after him and cried for him with bitter lamentation. I saw likewise that they ceased to cry after that sheep, and passed over the river of water. And that there arose other sheep, all of whom conducted them, instead of those who were dead, and who had previously conducted them. Then I saw that the sheep entered into a goodly place, and a territory delectable and glorious. I saw also that they became satiated, that their house was in the midst of a delectable territory, and that sometimes their eyes were opened, and that sometimes they were blind, until another sheep arose and conducted them. He brought them all back in their Then dogs, foxes, and wild boars began to devour them, until again another sheep, 3, arose. I don't know why that number 3 is there. The master of the flock, one of themselves, a ram, to conduct them. This ram began to butt on every side those dogs, foxes, and wild boars, until they perished. But the former sheep opened his eyes and saw the ram in the midst of them, who had laid aside his glory. And he began to strike the sheep, treading upon them and behaving himself without dignity. Then their Lord sent the former sheep again to a still different sheep, and raised him up to be a ram, and to conduct them, instead of that sheep who had laid aside his glory. Going therefore to him and conversing with him alone, he raised up that ram, and made him a prince and leader of the flock, all the time that the dogs troubled the sheep. The first ram paid respect to this latter ram. Then the latter ram arose and fled away from before his face, and I saw that those dogs caused the first ram to fall. But the latter ram arose and conducted the smaller sheep. That ram likewise begat and died. Then there was a smaller sheep, a ram, instead of him, which became a prince and leader, conducting the flock. And the sheep increased in size and multiplied, and all the dogs, foxes, and fled away from him. That ram also struck and killed all the wild beasts, so that they could not again prevail in the midst of the sheep, nor at any time ever snatch them away. And that house was made large and wide, a lofty tower by the sheep, for the Lord of the sheep. The house was low, but the tower was elevated and very high. Then the Lord of the sheep stood upon that tower, and caused a full table to approach before him. Again I saw that those sheep wandered, and went various ways, forsaking that their house. And that their Lord called to some among them, whom he sent to them. But these the sheep began to kill, and when one of them was saved from slaughter, he leaped, and cried out against those who were desirous of killing him. But the Lord of the sheep delivered him from their hands, and made him ascend to him, and remain with him. He sent also many others to them, to testify and with lamentations to exclaim against them. Again I saw when some of them forsook the house of their Lord and his tower, wandering on all sides and growing blind. I saw that the Lord of the sheep made a great slaughter among them in their pasture, until they cried out to him in consequence of that slaughter. Then he departed from the place of his habitation, and left them in the power of lions, tigers, wolves, and the zebet, and in the power of foxes and of every beast. And the wild beasts began to tear them. I saw too that he forsook the house of their fathers and their tower, giving them all into the power of lions to tear and devour them into the power of every beast. Then I began to cry out with all my might, imploring the Lord of the sheep and showing him how the sheep were devoured by all the beasts of prey. But he looked on in silence, rejoicing that they were devoured, swallowed up, and carried off, and leaving them in the power of every beast for food. He called also 70 shepherds, and resigned to them the care of the sheep, that they might overlook them, saying to them and to their associates, Every one of you henceforwards overlook the sheep, and whatsoever I command you, do, and I will deliver them to you numbered. I will tell you which of them shall be slain. These destroy. And he delivered the sheep to them. Then he called to another and said, Understand and watch everything which the shepherds shall do to these sheep, for many more of them shall perish than I have commanded. Of every excess and slaughter which the shepherds shall commit, there shall also be an account, as how many may have perished by my command, and how many they may have destroyed by their own heads. Of all the destruction brought about by each of the shepherds, there shall be an account, and according to the number I will cause a recital to be made before me, how many they have destroyed of their own heads, and how many they have delivered up to destruction, that I may have this testimony against them, that I may know all their proceedings, and that, delivering the sheep to them, I may see what they will do, whether they will act as I have commanded them or not. Of this, however, they shall be ignorant, neither shalt thou make any explanation to them, neither shalt thou reprove them, but there shall be an account of all the destruction done by them in their respective seasons. Then they began to kill and destroy more than it was commanded them. And they left the sheep in the power of lions, so that very many of them were devoured and swallowed up by lions and tigers and by wild boars that preyed upon them. That tower they burnt and overthrew that house. Then I grieved extremely on account of the tower, and because of the house of the sheep was overthrown. Neither was I afterwards able to perceive whether they again entered that house. The shepherds likewise and their associates delivered them to all the wild beasts that they might devour them. Each of them in his season, according to his number, was delivered up. Each of them with one with another was described in a book. How many of them, one with another, were destroyed in a book? More, however, than was ordered. Every shepherd killed and destroyed. Then I began to weep and was greatly indignant on account of the sheep. In like manner also I saw in the vision him who wrote, how he wrote down one, destroyed by the shepherds every day. He ascended, remained, and exhibited each of his books to the Lord of the sheep, containing all which they had done, and all which each of them had made away with, and all which they had delivered up to destruction. He took the book up in his hands, read it, sealed it, and deposited it. After this I saw shepherds overlooking for 12 hours. And behold, 3 of the sheep departed, arrived, went in, and began building all which had fallen down of that house. But the wild boars hindered them, although they prevailed not. Again they began to build as before, and raised up that tower, which was called a lofty tower. And again they began to place before that tower a table, with every impure and unclean kind of bread upon it. Moreover, also all the sheep were blind, and could not see, as were the shepherds likewise. Thus were they delivered up to the shepherds for a great destruction, who trod them under foot and devoured them. Yet was the Lord silent until all the sheep in the field were destroyed. The shepherds and the sheep were all mixed together, but they did not save them from the power of the beasts. Then he who wrote the book ascended, exhibited it, and read it at the residence of the Lord of the sheep. He petitioned him for them, and prayed, pointing out every act of the shepherds, and testifying before him against them all. Then, taking the book, he deposited it with him, and departed. And I observed, chapter 89, and I observed during that time, that thus 37 shepherds were overlooking, all of whom finished in their respective periods as the first. Others then received them into their hands, that they might overlook them in their respective periods, every shepherd in his own period. Afterwards I saw in the vision that the birds of heaven arrived. All the birds of heaven arrived. Eagles, the avest, kites, and ravens. The eagles instructed them all. They began to devour the sheep, to peck out their eyes, and to eat up their bodies. The sheep then cried out, for their bodies were devoured by the birds. I also cried out and groaned against that shepherd which overlooked the flock. And I looked, while the sheep were eaten up by the dogs, by the eagles, and by the kites. They neither left them their body, nor their skin, nor their muscles, until their bones alone remained, until their bones fell upon the ground, and the sheep became diminished. I observed likewise during that time that 23 shepherds were overlooking, who completed in their respective periods 58 periods. Then were small lambs born of those white sheep, who began to open their eyes and to see, crying out to the sheep. The sheep, however, cried not out to them, neither did they hear what they uttered to them, but were deaf, blind, and obdurate in the greatest degrees. I saw in the vision that ravens flew down upon those lambs, that they seized one of them, and that, tearing the sheep in pieces, they devoured them. I saw also that horns grew upon the lambs, and that the ravens lighted down upon their horns. I saw too that a large horn sprouted out on an, and that their eyes were opened. He looked at them. Their eyes were wide open, and he cried out to them. Then the Debella saw him, all of whom ran to him. And besides this, all the eagles, the aves, the ravens, and the kites were still carrying off the sheep, flying down upon them and devouring them. The sheep were silent, but the Debella lamented and cried out. Then the ravens contended and struggled with them. They wished among them to break his horn, but they prevailed not over him. I looked on them until the shepherds, the eagles, the aves, and the kites came, who cried out to the ravens to break the horn of the Debella, to contend with him and to kill him. But he struggled with them and cried out, that help might come to him. Then I perceived that the man came who had written down the names of the shepherds, and who ascended up before the Lord of the sheep. He brought assistance and caused everyone to see him descending to the help of the Debella. I perceived likewise that the Lord of the sheep came to them in wrath, while all those who saw him fled away, and all fell down in his tabernacle before his face, while all the eagles, the aves, ravens, and kites assembled, and brought with them all the sheep of the field. All came together and strove to break the horn of the Debella. Then I saw that the man who wrote the book at the word of the Lord opened the book of destruction, of that destruction which the last 12 shepherds wrought, and pointed out before the Lord of the sheep that they destroyed more than those who preceded them. I saw also that the Lord of the sheep came to them, and taking in his hand the scepter of his wrath, seized the earth, which became rent asunder, while all the beasts and birds of heaven fell from the sheep, and sunk into the earth which closed over them. I saw too that a large sword was given to the sheep, who went forth against all the beasts of the field to slay them. But all the beasts and birds of heaven fled away from before their face. And I saw a throne erected in a delectable land. Upon this sat the Lord of the sheep, who received all the sealed books which were opened before him. Then the Lord called the first 7 white ones and commanded them to bring before him the first of the first stars, which preceded the stars whose form partly resembled that of horses. The first star which fell down first, and they brought them all before him. And he spoke to the man who rode in his presence, who was one of the 7 white ones, saying, Take those 70 shepherds to whom I delivered up the sheep, and who receiving them killed more of them than I commanded. Behold, I saw them all bound and all standing before him. First came on the trial of the stars, which being judged and found guilty, went to the place of punishment. They thrust them into a place deep and full of flaming fire and full of pillars of fire. Then the 70 shepherds were judged, and being found guilty were thrust into the flaming abyss. At that time likewise I perceived that one abyss was thus opened in the midst of the earth, which was full of fire. And to this were brought the blind sheep, which being judged and found guilty, were all thrust into that abyss of fire on the earth and burnt. The abyss was on the right of that house. And I saw the sheep burning and their bones consuming. I stood beholding him emerge that ancient house, while they brought out its pillars, every plant in it, and the ivory enfolding it. They brought it out and deposited it in a place on the right side of the earth. I also saw that the Lord of the sheep produced a new house, great and loftier than the former, which he bounded by the former circular spot. All its pillars were new, and its ivory new, as well as more abundant than the former ancient ivory, which he had brought out. And while all the sheep which were left were in the midst of it, all the beasts of the earth and all the birds of heaven fell down and worshipped them, petitioning them and obeying them in everything. Then those three which were clothed in white, and who, holding me by my hand, had before caused me to ascend, while the hand of him who spoke held me, raised me up and placed me in the midst of the sheep before the judgment took place. The sheep were all white, with wool long and pure. Then all who had perished and had been destroyed, every beast of the field and every bird of heaven, assembled in that house, while the Lord of the sheep rejoiced with great joy, because all were good and had come back again to his dwelling. And I saw that they laid down the sword which had been given to the sheep, and returned it to his house, sealing it up in the presence of the Lord. All the sheep would have been enclosed in that house had it been capable of containing them. And the eyes of all were open, gazing upon the good one. Nor were there one among them who did not behold him. I likewise perceived that the house was large, wide. I saw too that a white cow was born, whose horns were great, and that all the beasts of the field and all the birds of heaven were alarmed at him, and entreated him at all times. Then I saw that the nature of all of them was changed, and that they became white cows, and that the first who was in the midst of them spoke, when that word became a large beast, upon the head of which were great and black horns. While the Lord of the sheep rejoiced over them and over all the cows. I lay down in the midst of them. I awoke and saw the whole. This is the vision which I saw, lying down and waking. Then I blessed the Lord of righteousness and gave glory to him. Afterwards I wept abundantly, nor did my tears cease, so that I became incapable of enduring it. While I was looking on, they flowed on account of what I saw, for all was come and gone by. Every individual circumstance respecting the conduct of mankind was seen by me. In that night I remembered my former dream, and therefore wept and was troubled, because I had seen that vision. Do you want me to stop there or keep going?
That was good.
That's for real. Keep going, or what do you think? I don't know.
But we need to pick up on the heavens. And also, you know, we were talking about this before, and also we're going to talk about it now, that when Genesis was written, this information was there. And so when Enoch is talking about the watchers, he's given details. He's given you speaking to God. He's given you that the watchers asked for a petition, for him to petition to go talk to God, because they couldn't be in that presence anymore. So he petitioned for them, and God said, no, not after what you've done. And then he gives more details of how these watchers created Nephilim, and how those Nephilim, once they departed their skins, became entities, the evil ones, the evil beings that are still out there, still with their job to kill, steal, and destroy. But then when you go to Genesis, you read a little bit about the Watchers. But if you had the Book of Enoch, there's no reason to put all that in to Genesis because all that information is in Enoch. Just like, what's it, Genesis 1:14, I believe it's 1:14, where Enoch is giving you dates, times, seasons, what the moon does, what the sun does, what the luminaries do, what the stars do, how many days it takes, when they change, what their orbit is, how many windows they have, when they rise, when they set, an invisible path. This is detailed information, but when we get to, I believe it's 1:14.
Want me to look it up?
Yeah. Genesis 1:14. So, Enoch's talking about the division of the years, what happens at this time, what's in this room, how the winds work, how the sun can be a blessing or a curse, how the same way with the moon, how much light the moon has. It's not the sun reflecting the moon, it's the moon has her own light. It's not as bright, but she has her own light. She used it, and she's like every 7 days, or you get a seventh, and a seventh, and seventh, and then also till it's.
Did you say Genesis 1:14?
Yeah.
And God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to distinguish between the day and the night, and let them be signs to mark the seasons and days and years."
Now, that part right there is also Enoch. What, page after page after page after page.
Very detailed, and they don't go into that detail for no good reason.
Yeah. So Moses.
Mm-hmm.
Moses or no? Oh, Genesis.
Moses.
Okay, so Enoch was what's the word I'm looking for? It was common knowledge.
Yeah.
The Book of Enoch, all this information was out there. And Peter and I believe it's Joel, even Revelations kind of hints on the Book of Enoch.
To me, it would be kind of like if we were saying, I know my rights are in the Constitution. Most Americans know their rights are in the Constitution because it's common knowledge around here.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't start from scratch every single time because they already knew. They were already telling the stories. They were already sharing the stories of their ancestors. And
that's a good example because when you say, well, I have like you say in the Constitution, you got the rights up there, but the people who wrote those rights also understood that there's more rights out there. You have the right to water. You have the right to breathe. You have the right to walk where you want to. You have the right
basic human rights.
You have all these other rights, but these rights are here, and so you can use these, but you have more rights than what is in the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when Genesis, says, and God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to distinguish between the day and the night, and let them be for signs to mark the seasons and days and years." That's this much. So reading the Book of Enoch and taking this book out of the Bible is
out of some Bibles.
But to take that much information out, to give you the reference point, is, I would say, a travesty to everybody, because we're not getting this information. We're getting 2 lines. Same thing with the Watchers. We're getting maybe 2, 3 lines. But the Book of Enoch goes into detail and detail and detail that we also need to have to get a correct picture, to get a better outlook, to understand that there's more to these 2 lines.
And sometimes if you understand why something, it helps you remember more of what you're supposed to do, or some things that you might say. Some people might say God's just being hardcore about this or that, and you want to judge God and say, wait, what do you mean he said wipe out everything that breathes, don't leave anything alive? Well, when you read some of these other texts, it tells you that these were monstrosities, abominations that were born. God knew that these were monsters that were going to eat men. He knew that these were giants or just Nephilim bloodline. He knew. So, but a person coming along in the future that doesn't have access to that knowledge looks at, because I can remember when I was a kid reading it, and I was like, oh man, that's so mean. Why did he do that? Why did he do that? Or just different things that he would say. I would go, wow, that's just so, even though I really loved Jesus, when I was reading about God the Father, I was like, man, he's just mean. Why is he so mean? But the more I learned, the more I know that it was to protect us, and that he had reasons for these things. And the Book of Enoch and some of these things in the Ethiopian Bible help you to understand why he made the rules that he did in more detail, the reasons, so that it wasn't just being mean. Just he's a good father, and he's trying to protect. He can see what's coming. He knows what's coming. If you keep following that path, or even everything that we see around us now was told in the Bible, but it doesn't make sense until later. And when you add in some of these other texts, it just makes it easier to understand once you want to consume more. And when Jesus himself quoted things from the Book of Enoch, and different other people in the Bible quoted Enoch, and they all knew who Enoch was. He was the seventh from? Was he the seventh from Adam?
Yeah.
He wasn't very far from Adam.
And they mentioned him in that line.
Yeah, and so we're not saying the King James Bible is bad. There's a lot of overlap between
Yeah.
that's also in there. In fact, if you try to do audio book from some of the Book of Enoch or the Ethiopian Bible, I mean, it'll say if you want to read or hear the audio version of it, click this link, and that link goes to
King James.
Scourby reading the King James Version. But it doesn't mean that things were not taken out of it. They just simply were. And there are people that say that the things that were taken out were verses that, like, or words changed. That King James felt that if those were left in there, it would make people rebel against earthly authority, against kings and things like that. So it was kind of a self-protection thing. And I got to say, why did he name the Bible after himself? If that makes you mad, it makes you mad. But why did he name it after himself? If I translated the Bible, I wouldn't call it the Elizabeth, the Ella Bible. You know what I mean? Why didn't he name it after God or Jesus or something besides himself? I don't know. It's for you to think about and pray about. But
And all those things of being why God destroyed Sodom. Why, all these things of every man, woman, child, beast, telling King Saul also, kill every Malachite, right? Okay.
Am, Am, Amalek?
Amalek. Malachite.
No, you're right, Amalekite.
Let's kill everyone, even their sheep. Um, but we don't have the context, like what we're doing now, reading dates, times, hours, seasons,
Details.
details. And when that context is left out, we may say, like you're saying, why is God so mean? But when you don't have the context of what was going on, what that Nephilim, they changed the beast, they changed the flowers, they changed the birds, they changed everything into wickedness. The only way to get rid of that wickedness is to get rid of it all. Not if you leave that wickedness there,
It's going to come back
it's going to come back.
and destroy.
Just like uh, King Saul.
Yeah.
His job was to, kill every Amalekite. But he didn't do that. He stopped and he kept some sheep and,
He wanted to keep the spoils
yeah. And
rather than obey.
Yeah. And then the second Saul, second Solomon, I think.
Cain.
Um,
The
second Samuel, I'm sorry. That wasn't first Samuel. Second Samuel, the Malachi is the one who puts the sword into King Saul. It was a Malachi.
He didn't kill himself. A lot of versions don't even tell you that.
Yeah.
It makes it sound like he
fell
on his sword and died,
Yeah.
but really,
he didn't die. He was still alive.
yeah, and it was an Amalekite that he was supposed to have killed.
All those years back.
Yeah, that ended up killing him.
Yeah, and took the sword to David, and David said, "How can you kill a anointed?" And he killed that Malachi. Also, like with Enoch, he talks about these dates and times. And if we follow the original pattern, every holy day is on the same day every year. If we use these calendars of today, it could be on the Saturday of the 25th, it could be on the Monday of the 16th, it could be Tuesday of the 4th. And we're trying to work that in, but you're always going to be wrong. If you're not using the original pattern, your dates are always going to be wrong. You may hit them once every 4 or 5 years, but it's going to be off. It's going to be wrong.
And so it's clear how precise God is. He made the machine. He made the system.
Yeah, the moon's a living being. The sun's a living being. The stars are living beings. And also that we have to trust that word. Trust the word of God. Because these demons have been doing things for generations. It's not today. I mean, it is today also, but it didn't begin today. This has been going on for generations, even changing words and changing meanings, little by little. It's still part of the plan to confuse us, to get us off, to get us unfocused. And when you do give your life to Christ, do give it to God, you have to also trust the Word in the Bible. You have to trust that Bible on what is correct. It has parts left out of it, so that's why we're going and finding this and sharing this information. Because a lot of people don't know that even though it sounds like it's not important, like who cares about the sun and moon and the portals and the dates and times, that's still very important information so that we know when things are going to happen, when things could happen, and who's in control of all that. And that God can use that sun to give us a blessing or make it a curse. He can bring the winds and destroy, or he can help the corn, the vegetables get stronger, and us. He can bring the rains and the water, which is our nourishment, or he can withhold it. Withhold it. And when you give your life to Christ, and it says in the Bible, you are a new creation. You are a new creature. The demons, the devils, they're going to come and they're going to still whisper in your ears. Remember that time? But you repented, so you got to get out of my head. That's not me. I'm new. And you'll it's going to come. It's going to come in your dreams. It's going to do whatever it can to get you unfocused. And whenever it says, you remember what you did in the third grade, but you've already repented. You got the Bible, you got the Word. That's what you trust. It doesn't say, maybe, or you could be. It says you are. So we got to trust that.
Yeah, we just have to trust what he says. If he says it, he had a reason for it.
And just like these dates and times, when you really look it up, even the ancient temples of the Mayans, ancient temples of the Mayans, they even went by a different set of time than the calendars of today. Japanese start their New Year's on spring equinox and not January in the wintertime, when it's still wintertime, like we do here, or like some do here. We have to trust what has been given to us, and we have to find what has not been given to us. And we're all grown. We have to.
You need to plug the phone in real quick. For now, how much?
And are.
We have to hold it. I don't know. Hold on, we got to figure out how with it charging, we can make it stand up. Get through that.
And so we were.
Cooperating.
I'm going to turn this just a little bit.
And so we hope you could hear us okay, and I didn't want to get off of the I just didn't want to quit reading. It was so interesting. It was all about Moses and the Israelites and
Yeah, and all
wow.
of that dream at the end was about future things coming too.
Which actually ties into Spooky Girl. What would you say about Numbers 31, 17, 18? And I'm going to read that verse.
Well, we can.
Real quick.
We can find it.
I got it. Or I had it a second ago. It is Moses instructs the Israelite army after the victory over the Midianites, now therefore kill every male among the little ones, and kill every woman who has known a man intimately, but keep alive for yourselves all the young girls who have not known a man intimately. It would be the same exact thing, because those they ended up coming back to kill the Israelites, so he didn't want anyone pregnant with that offspring. So there was something in that bloodline that was wrong. People can freak out about that, but look what happened when they weren't listening about the bloodlines, and this was before Jesus. Giants were created, monsters were created that devoured. If it hadn't been for Noah's boat and saving that family, the entire earth would have been consumed. Everyone, they were eating everyone, consuming everyone. And so all of these people were to us it just looks like a name. Oh, that's just a name of a family or something. And how cruel that he would say that, but it would be, say, for instance, um, the family of cannibals, or the family of giants, or the family of vampires, or, there was a reason. God created man in his image. The ones that were not created in his image, that have these infected bloodlines of these races that were never, and by that I mean the angelic races mixing with the humans, it wasn't meant to be. We weren't designed to combine those two things, and so it created things that would destroy us.
And it wasn't in just one area. These were 200 fallen, and they spread out. They went all over the place. So it's not just in this one place that hybrids were being formed.
And
It was all over the place. And
the Midianites wanted to destroy. It says here that they allied with Moab to hire Balaam against Israel, and they were polytheistic, so they were worshiping other gods. And sorry, God's a jealous God. He's not going to tolerate, nor should he. He's the creator. He shouldn't tolerate other beings being worshipped, because those other gods are the fallen angels.
yeah,
It just is. That's where all these
if you're
mixed.
worshiping and putting a demon ahead of our Creator, then it's just a matter of time. It's not, God's not going to be say, oh well, okay, that's okay. No, God's going, I've got a place for you. It's not with me, but it's in these places that Enoch is talking about.
Yeah, and I didn't create it for you. That wasn't what I
Yeah.
intended. I wanted you to follow, stay on the path, and have this beautiful life. But instead, some of you chose to consort with the
by their
fallen
own free
angels,
will.
and by your own free will.
Chose to worship a demon.
Yeah, we have the right, but we also have the consequences. He
Yeah.
gave free will, but there's consequences for it, and whether we like it or not, he's got reasons for everything he does. Either we have faith in that or not. Thank God Jesus has come and given us a way back to God, that
Mhm.
he
Yeah, we're
doesn't
lucky.
say for us to do that anymore. He'll take care of it by turning all these things against each other, just like he did with the giants too, cause them to destroy each other. And
And not
he'll do it
everybody
again,
is good people,
unfortunately.
and we
No.
all know that.
Yeah,
So bad people are going to be trying to destroy good people.
yeah.
It's always going to be like that until that day of judgment, until that was the last possible sheep to be found.
And that was even in that other vision that Enoch had. These were wolves among the sheep.
Yep.
We're supposed to be taking care of the sheep,
Yep.
and there were some that God had said, you got to get rid of that one, because that one is going to come back to get you, just like the Amalekite. But they don't listen. If they don't listen, it ends up causing destruction on the whole family. And the family being God's children. And there are absolutely people where God says, don't even pray for these, because their fate's already been sealed.
Don't petition.
You're not going to change my mind about them. I've seen what they've done. I personally don't want to save everybody here. I'm glad it's God's decision, but I don't see that any pedo, and boy, we're seeing how many of those there are. It's just insane. But that's an unnatural, completely unnatural, wicked desire. They're irredeemable. They've crossed a line that
Yeah.
you can't go back from that. I don't want them saying, "Oops, my bad," and getting into heaven. That goes that goes beyond demonic influence and into actual action of harming children. And
It's good they got a place already set aside.
yeah, if everybody that was here gets into heaven, what's the difference? Don't even bother to clean it up because we're going to be right back there again.
And there's even souls, and even children's souls, who didn't get justice here. But there's a place waiting for those people because justice will be served. And that's where they have to go.
Yeah.
It's not like they want to go, but they made that decision to do all those things. And there's a place.
It causes harm for generations.
Yep.
It's horrifying. Matter of fact, today, and I ended up deleting the thing for the long comment that I had. I'm following a story from a town that I was from, and there's a couple churches involved, and right now it's at 17 known child abusers, SA abusers, and they are these big mother church, I guess you'd call it, has been covering up and hiding. When the kids are going to try to report what happened to them, they'll just shh, we don't want to destroy the church, we'll take care of it in-house, and nothing happens. And they've got registered offenders going on mission trips, hugging up on the kids, and stuff like that. And it's
Kids
disgusting.
disappearing too.
And so the people that are trying to say, look, I grew up in this church. Me and my sister were both abused. She's bringing receipts. She's right now it's over 17 kids, and I think a couple more since then. Some of them are grown now, and they're coming forward with their stories, and more and more and more and more. And then they have another church that was run by a registered one, and they got to have a vote on that, which they did. But wouldn't you think that in a church that would be, yeah, he's out, get him out of here? No, they had to wait and schedule a vote for the congregation. And
Well, he's still on the payroll.
while he's still on the payroll, and it will continue to, they did end up voting him out, even though they had arguments. Only 50 people in this church, and I think 11 voted against putting him out. Hello? And then they're going to pay him through to the end of July. But anyway, so if somebody comes in there on the story about it, just saying what happened, and this guy comes in there and he says, y'all need to be careful because you're just judging. You're judging. And but so lecturing the people that are trying to save the children and get the predators out of the church, to get the
He
wolves
sounds like
out
a
of the
predator,
church.
not-
I'm telling you. And I didn't tell him that, but in my mind I was like, dude, come on now. You're going to lecture these people. He said, thou shalt not judge. No, the Bible also says, know ye not that you will be judging angels? You better be able to do some righteous judgment, because that's
Yep.
what allowed all of this to just get so much worse. Like, I can't believe
Better
how
have
many
morals.
are doing this, and it's because everybody's not everybody, but because the people that really could make a difference are too cowardly to put them in jail or execute them, whatever. It's something to stop them from hurting these kids. They get right back out. They get right back out. And a lot of times the church is paying the bail money. It's insanity. And so,
But when people say, pray for this person, I'm going, nah, you pray for those. We don't need everybody. If your prayers, and you talk to God just like we do, you talk to God. And, he's hurting all these children.
if he's telling you to pray for them, then you do it.
You go do that and talk to God,
Pray for
because
the children.
the God I know is saying, I don't want you petitioning for that guy.
He said it'd be better to have a millstone tied around your neck than to hurt one of these children or turn them away from me. What better way are you going to turn a kid away from God than for the leaders of the churches to be abusing them? And then the other people, the lukewarm, or the willfully blind, excusing it, making excuses and chastising the people that are trying to tell. It's insanity. I just can't believe it. I do get outraged. I get there. It's okay to have righteous indignation, and but that's another form of predator, which is what a lot of
Yeah.
these people are.
And that
Predators
hybrid
in
mind. It doesn't
that
just have to be a
hybrid
hybrid, but it's that hybrid mind
Yeah,
of to kill, steal, and destroy.
yeah. Jesus says, "My sheep know my name." He doesn't say, the wheat are in with the wheat and the tares are all mixed together. The tares are mixed in,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, the wolves are with the sheep.
he
There's,
warns us of that.
yeah,
And if the churches don't start cleaning it up, that's also why the church numbers are dwindling. Besides the lack of
you don't
faith
want your kids going there.
during the jabs in 2020, the lack of faith with the churches going, oh, we better not have service. Oh,
Didn't trust God.
instead, yeah, they did not trust God. And those churches, a lot of them failed during that time. People were like, nah, they just never recovered. But the churches that stood their ground and the pastors that said, I'll go to jail for having a service, whatever. Send me a fine, whatever you need to do. But I'm holding service and we're going to pray for people
We're gonna
here.
worship
We're
here.
going to continue to, yeah. Those churches flourished. So the weak churches are, and the ones who allow, especially the kind of madness we were talking about earlier, in their churches, they're they're going to be no longer. It's probably going to go to mostly small, at-home, neighborhood little churches gathering together because people lost a lot of faith with all of these exposures happening. And I'm so glad to see it happen. And judgment begins in the house of God. He's starting there. It's coming out day after day.
We got a. This is the first time I've seen this message is being held for review.
I've seen it once or twice. If there may be a word that, so we can one of our moderators read that
Or should we view
message and see if it's okay? Sometimes if there's a word that shouldn't, or sometimes it's nothing, sometimes it's something.
Okay.
Could one of our moderators check
If y'all
the
can see
message that
that.
says held for review? YouTube did that.
Sage
YouTube
says,
saw something they didn't like.
Said podcaster kept saying, "Vengeance is mine," says the Lord. Sure, it also says we should defend the weak, orphans, widow. Yeah,
Boom.
yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna sit there while so let's
He
say it's
said
your
probably
child.
good.
It's always okay if it's somebody else's child and it doesn't affect you. But if it was your child, would you sit there? Would you, walk in and see somebody on your kid
Yeah.
and you're gonna go, oh, I hate to judge you.
And a lot of things with these podcasters using things like that.
Sage
Those are
says it's probably mine.
those are petty things. Somebody might have called them a bad name, or somebody might have talked about it, and then they're using vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. But that's a whole different ballgame of what he's talking about. He didn't talk about he called me a name and I can't, fight you or something.
Yeah. And we're not talking about vigilante justice anyway, but self-defense, and now that's totally different. Or defending your children, that's different.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about just hearing a story and you go out and you try to take that person out. We're talking about justice in the courts, which is a rare thing now. The cops will arrest them and the judges let them out. It's a revolving door because they make money every time they come in and they get that bail money.
Yeah. And that vengeance saith the Lord is mine, or vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. That's, if they don't get justice here, there is justice that will happen.
But he doesn't say anywhere that it's not okay to give both.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're not talking about justice, not vengeance, right?
And, yeah, and when God does something, it's big.
His will be eternal justice.
Yeah, it's big, big, big. When God does something, you're gonna know that's God. doing that.
Sage says, Chippy is a thirsty machine. I hear you. I
Yeah,
hear you.
I think
I think she had a. I think she had a resolution. Yeah, wood chipper.
Jody said, "No, I think it's the wood chipper." Oh,
We
we
didn't
didn't
see
see
that,
that
but
one.
hey, could be, but I'll allow it.
Gene.
I mean, somebody's. Well, okay.
I didn't know that was one of our. We didn't use. I
We
mean,
didn't
have
see
that
it in
word
there.
as
We didn't
a
see it in there.
not to be shown.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, we're not encouraging violence, but we sure are, do encourage defending the children
yeah.
and anybody who's just outright being assaulted and abused. Come on.
And you know these people who are causing harm to millions and millions of people. Though that's a vengeance.
Oh,
That's,
yeah, wait till Bill Gates and.
yeah. Whenever that comes to standing, well, actually, you know that they're going to try to say, okay, this is real now. Okay, I'm sorry, or this, and but there's angels already waiting for these people, and God's just going to say, okay, take them to where they need to be.
Yeah.
They're not coming here with all these children who love me.
I can't think of the exact verses right now, but there's also verses about not, about protecting the innocent and not just letting people get away with something. If you're not going to speak up against it, or you're allowing it, especially in a church, that's horrible. And this guy's only comment back to me because I was like, you might want to sit this one out because I had a little bit of a rant, but not a very long one. Not like the second one, but then he deleted. He said, "What is your sin? What is your deepest, darkest secret?" So yeah, I think that guy's creepy. And
Yeah.
I was like, I'm, you know,
Yeah.
and but he deleted that comment, so I couldn't comment to it.
Yeah.
And then and I was
And
gonna
you
do
know,
it again.
that was
And
a
I had
demon.
copied and I put it back in again, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna delete that, and I'm just gonna keep it short because he doesn't want to hear. This is a waste of breath on this person.
Well, I mean, a demon will try to do that,
Yeah.
but when you're typing in your confessions that you've already confessed,
Right.
they're like, well, I can't use this because,
Right.
I need to go find somebody else. But this
Right.
one's done confessed all this, and they're publicly saying, I did this,
I
I
already
confessed about
repented,
this,
got
I
forgiven,
had
turned
my
from my
deliverance,
ways.
changed my life, I'm a child of
Yep.
God.
That is basically what it was. Yeah.
They're like, I need to nudge and get underneath that skin and things
And
like that.
he was starting to get under my skin, and that's why I said, well, I'll just finish it with this shorter version, and then I'll stop, and then end this conversation because he
Yeah.
just wasn't worth it. Oh, he was calling the people hypocrites. They were trying to say, no, this is not acceptable.
But also, a lot of people who are lukewarm, who haven't turned their life over, who haven't confessed their sins,
They just want to say, I went to church.
those
Give me
are
my
the
ticket.
ones. Those are the ones he was looking for,
Yeah.
because then he could shame them or put them down or feel a little superiority or say we're all the same. And that's what the demon wants. He wants everybody the same, so there's no judgment.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Yeah, that was in the second smaller comment that I did. I said, if, if there's none of us that are defending these kids, we're clear thinking, and every one of us would say, yes, if I ever did something like that to children, feel free to, let me have my justice
Yep.
because that's unacceptable. There's something wrong if I'm to do that, basically. So that's not being a hypocrite. A hypocrite is when you're saying you can't be forgiven for doing this thing,
Yeah.
but you're doing that thing, right?
And these demons don't want to find or try to publicly argue or try to uh, chastise a child of God. because they'll lose every time because you got the word to stand on.
Well, and that's really the best way to argue with them. Just quote a verse, just like Jesus did.
Yep.
When he
That
was
word.
tempted, he'd say, "It is written."
It is written. And here it is. Say, yes, I did do
Because then they're
that when I
arguing
was
with
younger.
God, not you.
Now it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess that about wraps it up, huh?
Yep. Somebody says 5, or Nick
Wielden, show us a demon.
Show us the
100.
demon. Yeah.
Right? So it can be rebuked.
Yeah, every time. And they do. They show us that they're demons. There was there was one time and I knew this person was demonized just the way they were talking. And they were asking me if I was a Christian, and they were trying to do all those demon things. You know, all the demons they'll start off with, are you saved? Are you a Christian? You know, are you a child of God? Are you this? Are you that? All the demons do that. They try to go little by little and chip till they try to find something.
While pretending to be Christians.
Well, trying to pretend to be Christians.
Yeah.
But those are demon tactics. So what I did was I started rebuking. And that one said, I'm still here. That didn't work. I said, I rebuke you, demon. And then they said, I'm still here. I said, I rebuke you, demon. They said, well, that didn't work, did it? I said, I rebuke you, demon. Because that's how demons also work. Because there's a multitude of them. Mm-hmm. It's not just one that's going to come after you or try to antagonize you. It's going to be multiple. So you have to keep rebuking, keep rebuking, keep rebuking, keep rebuking, keep rebuking. Finally, I probably rebuked about 15 times probably. And it was getting down. And finally, they just left the whole conversation, left the whole group, banned me from that group. And they said, I'm out. I'm getting away from this guy, because all he's doing is rebuking all these demons that are trying to, a normal person would get confused at that. You're rebuking
and not
a demon.
Understand that was a separate one each time.
Not knowing that that's a separate one that stepped up to try to make it seem like it's the same one.
The stronghold is usually all the other ones show up first.
Yeah.
Expose themselves first.
The little ones, yeah. But that bigger one, the more powerful one, or the one who has the right to that person, who's been given that open threshold, will say, I'm not losing my right to this person. I'm out of here. I'm taking this person.
To go quiet.
Yeah. They will leave that. They will leave you. They will not bother you anymore. They don't want to be around you, because they know
that
you're just waiting to rebuke.
Cast out,
Yeah, waiting to cast out.
Yeah.
So,
all right, we're going to go ahead and thank you for your patience in the beginning. Hope you enjoyed it. We sure did.
Mm-hmm.
And
our daily bread.
Yeah. So thank you for being here. We have really, really missed y'all. We've got a Watching Wednesday coming up. And then we also have a memorial in memory of a dear friend of ours that passed this last week. And we'll be putting together a video for that. We may do it with live stream. We may do it with a video. Not sure, but that'll be coming out this week. Anything else?
Tracker meeting tomorrow. And
already Tuesday. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we had to cancel it last week because we were having internet trouble too. So anyway, thank you for bearing with us, and maybe we'll do some practice things tomorrow and see if we can figure something out. Okay. So, but anyway, thank you all.
Let me read these last ones here.
Have we missed any comments?
Jody says, terrific, thank you.
Thank you.
Laura says, God bless everyone and have a blessed night.
You too.
You too. And Sage Cooley says, thank you, you are wonderful.
Oh, we appreciate
you.
Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the new names in here, and come back again. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you, Father. Wow, it was very interesting to read all that tonight, and to think that you would take the time to give us your word and to give all these inspired words to different prophets throughout time. That you cared enough about us now that you would even give us a hint, because if we didn't have the Bible to clue us in on things that are going around, it would seem like absolute, utter madness and hopelessness, Lord. But we hear you, and we're listening, our eyes are open. We're so thankful, and most importantly, we trust you completely. We know that if you say this shouldn't be, then it shouldn't be, whether we like it or not, whether we understand it or not. We trust you because your ways are not our ways, and you are so much higher than us, and you designed all this beauty. And Lord, it really stinks that so many things have messed up your gorgeous design, but it's still here, and we love it, and we're so thankful to you for everything. We're thankful for the viewers here tonight. We're thankful that you gave us a way to do this broadcast, and you're just so awesome, Father. Truly, you're just so awesome. It just defies words. Like our opening verse, like who are we that you should even be mindful of us, that you would even think to take care of us like you do, and that you even want to have anything to do with us, and the honor of being designed in your image and made in your image. Oh, wow. Of all the things in creation, we get to be the ones that are designed in your image. What an honor, Father, and let us um, always be pleasing to you, and just keep your angels around us like you always do. And you give us our personal bodyguards and the angels. How amazing are you, Father? You're just so cool. You're just so cool. We love you, Father, and thank you. And then you even sent your Son to say, okay, look, okay, so the written words are not working so far. Y'all don't understand. I'm going to give you a visual. Here I am. This is how you do it. This is how you live. I mean, what more could you possibly do? You're just so amazing. And thank you, Jesus. And then leaving the Holy Spirit with us to guide us and mentor us and help us to understand. And Lord, one thing we didn't cover tonight that I want to acknowledge in this prayer is that when you separated the darkness from the light, that was before the moon and the sun came. They're not the true light. The Word and Jesus are the true light, and that's what's in us, and that's what's around us, and that's what makes everything here so just incredible. And how anybody can have any day that they don't find something to be grateful for is just beyond me, Father. I just don't understand it. I'm truly grateful from the bottom of my heart, and I know Jerry is too, and our viewers are all grateful people too, and we thank you. We love you so much, Father. Take care of each of us, and thank you for letting us get this broadcast out tonight. In the name of your Son, Jesus, the name of Yeshua, amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right, we'll see y'all next time.
All right. Is there
I think we read them all. If we
Lorna
missed
says
any comments.
amen. Jody says amen. All right. Wedge says amen. Wow.
So if we don't get this worked out with this, we'll do our streams on the phone if we have to.
Yeah. Trackalona
So
says
we just
good
gotta
night,
sit
warriors.
There's no
Yeah.
problem. Good night. God rest and good good rest.
God rest.
God bless and
bless
good
and
rest.
good rest.
My mouth's been working too long today. All right. Y'all have a good night.
I'm not sure I'd turn this one off. Maybe it's this button here. Just off.
And you know we didn't send Kay a separate.
This is on YouTube.
Oh yeah, she should have been able to get in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me see.
We love y'all. Thank you.
Okay. And Jody says good night, everyone.
Good night,
Good
Jody.
night, Jody.
Joydy.
Jody. Joy D.